Welcome, people of planet Earth. You are watching another episode of the 401 Show at crbradio.com. Let's enjoy it.
Ooh.
Let's do this.
Wow,
Let's get down
animation.
to it.
Wasn't that great?
Very professional.
Yes.
Yes. I have a
Quality.
knack for radio.
You do. And you have a face for television.
Aw, thank you, Hoops.
Both of you guys, everyone does.
Thank you.
I think
Except
we
for
all have
maybe Eric
faces
or
for
me or
truth.
Jimmy, but
Except
you
for me.
guys.
Yeah.
Helen does. We've got a friend in studio
Yes,
tonight.
we do.
Helen of Troy.
Helen.
She is part of the
Helbel.
Greek shipping dynasty we were talking about on the way up
Hmm.
here
Sure
today.
is. She's a Greek treat.
All right, so. Oh, yeah, like she's a baklava. Okay.
Better than.
Do you understand what we're talking about? Yes, we do.
How
Yeah,
are
there's
you?
a Christian theme on this show as well, so let's understand
Yes.
what we're
Definitely,
talking about here.
most definitely.
And for those people that are just getting to know what like a real Christian looks like, no, they don't all wear doilies and walk around like the Amish, all quiet.
There's cool
They're
Christians
actually
too.
normal people, many of them.
People wear doilies?
Some have implants.
In
Oh.
northern Pennsylvania, yeah. Some of them are covered head to toe. Dude, one of them, remember that a guy used to do a show with Dave DiBiase? I mean, he had a Satan's tattoo, Satan's face covering his entire back.
I
Well,
do too. But not a backplate, but
You know what's hilarious is that my mother and her husband are very devout Christians, and his whole arm is half sleeved with just demons and demonic,
you know,
crazy. And I never really sat down and asked him about that. I should ask him, like, why?
Well,
He's getting his demons out, maybe.
most
Who knows?
people aren't born having found God. Now, we are taught to think we have. But it is like you and I, Meigs, were talking on the way up here. You remember the day, which for you was August 19th, right? Mine was
2016.
November 22nd. Like, I remember that moment, that day. And dude, and I'm not a tattoo guy just because I love tattoos. There were lots of times like I almost got one, but in my circles, like in business and venture capital, having a swastika on your forehead is not going to help you close that deal. So
Probably
There's
not.
other places you could venture
I know, no,
on your
I'm-
body where nobody would see it in the corporate world. Okay.
I'm exaggerating. Well, I ran my meetings
You need a
sans
tramp
clothing,
stamp
so
that says, "I love Jesus."
I don't know why we couldn't recruit people. Yeah,
I'm joking.
no,
I'm joking,
why
I'm
not?
joking.
All right, so we've got. So last week I wanted to get closure on one thing, because the Bible passage means you ended up pulling up something from Corinthians, and the Bible passage I was talking about that talks about something written 2,000 years ago that actually talks about something scientists have discovered just in the last 50 or so years, maybe 100 now years we've been fiddling with things that beneath the size of what's atomic. Is Hebrews 11:3. By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen is not made out of things that are seen. It's, what is... Why don't I just read it the way God wrote it? By faith we understand that the universe was created by the word of God, so that what is seen was not made out of things that are visible.
Did you just say the way Jesus wrote it?
Actually, it would have been the way Paul wrote it,
Okay. I just wanted to.
but the way Jesus inspired it.
Yeah, well, yeah, because.
'Cause you
universe
are
is
still
interesting
skeptical,
in this verse.
but we are chipping away at you, man. You're like a frozen snowman.
We'll get to you.
And me's got an ice pick out, dude, and it's chipping away. It's
So
going to be
here's-
undeniable.
Here's the thing about this statement that I would contest. They're saying that what is seen is made out of things that are not able to be seen, but wouldn't that be feelings more than seeing?
Well,
Huh?
God is...
It wouldn't be seeing. It would be more of,
Well, look, this table is not made out of a feeling.
right?
It's made out of a microscopic atom,
right.
which has a little nucleus, and then nothing but space around it and a little electron going around it. So actually, this is all space, but it's a magnetic field. It's not a feeling that created it. It's actually matter at its smallest level. Something that
Okay.
a scribe in the year 90 A.D. would have had no idea God was referencing. And we're going to talk about a little bit about why, for instance, like why I'm so certain that this book is the authentic Word of God. We're going to get into that a little bit with some examples, if I don't screw it up.
Do you know what translation that is?
I'm sure it's King James.
Okay, because
No, no,
universe in that it's curious. I wonder what the other translations would say.
Why would they say the beginning of God means Jehovah's Witnesses?
That's great.
Okay.
Jehovah doesn't
I
Jehovah
think-
mean God?
Hey, look.
Good question.
That's a whole other can of worms with
Yeah.
Jehovah's
teasing
Witnesses.
us about it.
They're an
Right.
Illuminati
Facts go
cult.
out the window.
Right.
And this is like through humor, we are, this is one of the little ways where anything that can be used to keep our eye off of who Jesus Christ was is at work. This one does it through a laugh, which it makes me laugh too.
And Jim Gaffigan is a comedian who talks about Christianity too. He says, there's if whenever somebody comes up to him and they're like, can I talk to you about Jesus? And he's like, no, I don't think so. Like it's just he makes fun, and then that's how I always thought too. Like whenever somebody approached me trying to talk about Jesus, it's kind of like, could you not? Like, could you actually not ever talk to me about Jesus? But now it's just a truth that I've stumbled upon through research that I know Jesus is the truth now. And now I'm one of those creepy people that Jim Gaffigan is bothered by.
I'm going to say that I'm learning so much from this show because I was told as a very young child that the Lord is this huge character in the sky that looks down and can hear everything. And my grandma was like, little loopy, and she'd always be like, Revelations, you better get right with the Lord because the world's gonna end and all these monsters are coming down.
Hellfire and
like,
brimstone.
I was scared out of my mind over religion when I was younger, you know? And I'm one of those people that I have to kind of like feel it, see it, like to really believe it. I mean, I do have feelings about things, but facts are always very
It sounds like your grandma was motivating you through fear. We're going to motivate through love and truth and research instead of fear.
Fearing.
Fear is part of it. There are times
for
when
sure.
I'm feeling distant from God, this is what I do, is I literally, because I believe these are so true, is I watch testimonies of people that have been given tours of hell.
Oh, me too.
And I know.
When they die?
Near-death
Sometimes,
experiences.
look, there's a lot of ways
that
it
show
seems
that
that God did it in the Bible, and I think he's been doing it throughout all of history. There's some writers like H.P. Lovecraft, for instance. That guy was shown something.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
he was a dark side, but he knew there were demons, and he ultimately ended up killing himself because I think he went insane by...
Edgar Allan Poe, he wrote some really...
Yes.
Crazy stuff.
Look, like today, it's not like Satan's plan went into effect in 1955. He has been working this plan. In fact, I'm going to show you evidence of this plan that goes back to 600 AD. But having the media personality that everyone looks up to, the court jester of the day, which is, our Beyonce today, that has not changed. So if there's like a popular book from history still, odds are that God's at work in the world too. Don't get me wrong about that. All right, so I guess this is how I'm going to show you guys one of the ways that they hide the truth. And this one is, man, you little stinker.
Real quick, can I read a definition of predictive
Please.
programming that didn't make it on the last show? I think we were having technical difficulties, but it's worth trying to define predictive programming. Like, what the heck are we talking about when we say predictive programming? And it was actually a term popularized by this guy, Alan Watts. He's kind of like the first Alex Jones. He was like one of the first.
That actually discounts him. I mean, he's a credible, legitimate researcher.
Right.
He tracks predictive programming, at least to the Greek Empire. I think we can actually go back to the days of Babylon prior to Greece.
Right.
But this system has been at play. But let's hear
For
his
sure.
definition.
But he kind of coined the term predictive programming, and he says it's a subtle form of psychological conditioning provided by the media to acquaint the public with planned societal changes to be implemented by our leaders.
Well put. And a perfect entry point into what I want to show you guys now. Now, we've all here heard of the Trilateral Commission, yes? Has anyone not heard of the Trilateral Commission?
I haven't.
Okay. Trilateral Commission is one of these nebulous groups through which this group that I call the Illuminati,
Yeah.
that we've now tracked back to the days of Jesus when he called them the synagogue of Satan.
Right.
These are like the Rothschild, Rockefeller families. They worship Lucifer privately, and I think we've shown some evidence of that on their jewelry.
Yes.
We have
Oh,
a lot.
yeah.
We have a lot
Oh
more.
yeah, no, I'm.
But
very, very
outwardly
well
to the world, they're
aware
known
of
as
that.
Jews. And Jesus even said these people they're going to be the rulers of the world in the last days. They gather at secret places to hatch secret plans.
Right.
So he predicted that. They're here. I found this before I had found Jesus Christ. Now, 1981, so Trilateral Commission. In conspiracy circles, Trilateral Commission is a famous group of people that meet to essentially, they do what the Bilderberg Group does, what the CFR does, what they do at Bohemian Grove, where the rulers of the world get together, as was written in the Bible, to basically,
Where's Bohemian Grove?
that's
California.
Northern California off San Francisco.
Okay.
That's where you'll find anyone in power. You
Right.
basically have to go there, and that's where they literally sorry, I'm not going to be able to back this up today, but it's a total hedonistic, homosexual place.
Brad Meltzer did a really good
Wow.
piece on that on his. Well, he had a.
Is he the bald guy, Meltzer?
Meltzer.
He is.
He
Okay, you
did a
fuck.
thing on the Bilderberg or whatever the hell they are, where they have the giant like goat or some crap in there. It's
Moloch.
The Moloch owl.
Owl.
Where the defense of Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was interviewed walking out of there one day, he's like, "Dude, are you participating in human sacrifices?" His reply was, "They're not real human sacrifices; they're mock human sacrifices."
Right, right.
Which begets my next question: is why are you even participating in a mock?
Right.
And there, you
Like
can look,
grown adults are.
Right. That's.
you can look
really
up
bizarre to
online
admit.
protesters of survivors of
Playtime.
satanic ritual abuse that had been abused at Bohemian Grove still regularly protest with signs outside the gates of Bohemian Grove saying like, "We want the truth, like we want to expose this
Oh,
stuff."
I'm going down
this
this
happened to
rabbit
us.
hole later for sure.
So-
It's crazy.
They do the same thing at Trilateral Commission meetings,
Okay.
where you get a couple hundred aware people with signs protesting outside their meetings. That's what happens today. Now, let's go back in history almost 40 years to 1981. This is how they introduce the Trilateral Commission into our vernacular and how they shape our thoughts about it.
Vernacular
Now-
spectacular.
We all are familiar with Barney Miller, yes?
Yes.
Anyone too young for that?
Oh no, I don't know who Barney Miller is.
Oh,
I do.
It was
I
the
hate to admit
Cheers.
that,
It was
but-
the Cheers of the 1970s.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And okay, you guys ready?
Yeah,
Let's hit it. Barney Miller Police Squad funny comedy show. Here's how they do it.
The ones you should be arresting, not me.
Why don't you say that before?
What we got here?
Cam, this is William Klein. He was wrecking an office.
But I just wanted to meet them face to face. I wanted them to admit what they were doing.
Who is they? He was in the office of the Trilateral Commission.
Trilateral Commission.
Yeah, the Trilateral Commission.
All right, what is the Trilateral Commission?
It's an organization founded in 1973 by David Rockefeller to bring together business and political leaders from the United States, Europe, Japan, so they could work together for better economic and political cooperation between their nations.
And with that's what they'd like us to believe. But you see, what they're really up to is a scheme to plant their own loyal members in positions of power in this country, to work to erase national boundaries and create an international community, and in time, bring about a one world government with David Rockefeller calling the shots.
That's crazy.
Okay, he goes on to that, and they
That's
basically
crazy.
chalk him up as insane. But the beauty is,
Which writer died after this?
no,
Right.
this was introduced on purpose.
Yeah.
Remember, they don't try to keep information out of the public
And
mainstream.
who runs
I mean,
Hollywood? Who runs all that
Right.
thank
stuff?
you.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
People think it's the Weinsteins and all that shit. No, those are just the puppeteers
Exactly.
that are getting the
exactly.
strings dangled in front of them, and they're dancing their little marionettes and all that stuff.
So my dad would have watched this, and he wouldn't have even recognized it. But in that book, Meigs, that you've got there on subliminal and predictive programming, he would have actually started to form an opinion about the Trilateral Commission, unbeknownst to him, Just having watched this once. So next time it comes up, he's already discounting it. And what will happen is you might see this across dozens of media starting in the 1980s. They're certainly still doing it today. And so here's what's nuts, and this is through comedy.
This was in 1981.
This is 1981.
They
Now,
implanted it.
this one world government that the Rockefellers are talking about, which they are now public about since 1981. You can go read the memoirs of David Rockefeller. That's when he says, people accuse me of wanting to start a one world, about one world government of that. If I'm
killing everyone.
I am guilty. Yes, I am trying to. Their plans are public now, and they know we're doing this. It's almost unstoppable at this point. And here, this is what's crazy, is the Bible said that after Israel is reformed, that this would go down. The world would turn into a one world government, literally headed up by Satan himself. It will only last for 3.5 years.
He's going to present himself as God. I often wondered years ago, how in the world could that happen? How would people ever believe something like that? The reason they'll believe it is because there's been a complete redefinition of God. A complete redefinition of God. And he makes a covenant with the Jewish nation. The Antichrist does. Does he? Yes, he does. How long is that covenant for? 3.5 years. Yes, sir. So when would he make that covenant? In the middle of the tribulation period. 3.5 year covenant, right? With the Jewish nation. He'll make a covenant. Who? The Antichrist will.
And then it's going to get utterly. You do not want to be on earth when that happens.
Next year? Kidding. It's a joke.
I don't know when the time is, but dude, we're not. It's the season. All right. If every Christian that is tied into the Bible, and I don't like the word Christian, everyone that is looking at this ancient manuscript as a real document knows something is about to happen on this planet. Right. And it is going to be the biggest thing in history. Now, I don't know if that is tomorrow or 10 years out.
Do you feel like it's very important to get baptized to be saved in that way, or
No.
Yes and no.
Do you think that the Lord knows who has a good heart or who doesn't?
He does. And he absolutely does. And not everybody does. He's very clear about that. Some people don't. And I think the fact that you're here listening is him communicating to you. I mean, I would bet that on a Bible. If I were in your shoes, I could not see that yet. I could not see it.
But there is it's a common trick that anytime I say Satan, it's just a knee-jerk response, knee-jerk reaction that it's just Dana Carvey as the church.
Right.
But
could it be Satan?
But there's no other way to say it. One of Satan's tactics is to lull people into a false sense of security, thinking if you are just a good person, that means you'll spend your eternal days in heaven. And that Jesus actually said in his gospel, I am the way, not you being a good person.
If you believe there's an afterlife, and if you think you're going to heaven because you're a good person, you're. This is not my words. This is the words of something that I will now die. I will literally give my life before I renounce the truth of this book. Those are words that are written in there. So the reason we're hemming and hawing between yes and no, you're not saved because you go get baptized.
Right, because there's serial killers on death row that do, and I don't believe that they're going to heaven just because they asked God for forgiveness right before they were electrocuted and got saved.
They actually, based on these scriptures, would. And I got into a big fight with Betsy about this.
Thinking that
because I'm look,
I know.
Yeah,
you can be Adolf Hitler himself if he had found Jesus in the bunker.
Boy, do you think Jesus loves Hitler?
Do I think Jesus loves Hitler? I'd assume so. Hitler said that Jesus in his heart got baptized to be saved. I ain't gonna save him from man's justice.
Because, see, we're judging this by human eyes, sin is bigger than this sin. But you got to understand what God's dealing with here. And I got to use an example I've been a CEO before, and I've put ads in the paper. And I'll say, wear a necktie and bring a cover letter and a resume. Trust me, I get a lot of dudes that don't even show up with the cover letter and necktie. Now, if I were the kind of boss that just let everyone into my company like that, I guarantee that company wouldn't be a special place anymore.
Right.
Heaven wouldn't be holy. See, heaven is a clean room. It's like where they make microprocessor chips for Intel. Where, yes, Eric.
That's why I got to call bullshit, dude.
On what?
So you're saying that because it says so in the Bible that if Hitler asks for forgiveness in the bunker, he's going to heaven. But because I'm not a believer, I'm not going to heaven?
Correct.
See, that's where
I mean,
religion freaks me out.
that's why-
Because
I mean,
don't
it's
feel
not-
like
it's not
Ted
a
Bundy
religious
or
thing.
whoever it was that got electrocuted that asked right before he died.
Yeah. How can
I
something
want to
is
be
almost-
that kills
saved.
millions and millions and
And
millions
this
of
guy
people
had his whole life
such a
filled with just
deplorable
torture
thing?
and killing.
Let me
and
explain it like
murders
this,
and,
dude.
Like, makes no damn sense to me.
I used to be on the same page.
The
man.
reason,
I
guys-
know.
Look, I'm just using Hitler because he's probably the most evil human face we can imagine. Now, there are people that are more evil than Hitler, but Hitler just happens to be the most famous of the evil people. On the other side of the spectrum might be Mother Teresa for what represents the good in humanity. So what I had a hard time getting my arms around is that neither one of those guys can get into heaven. Neither one of them based on their acts, nor are they disqualified from heaven based on their acts. Now, we think Hitler was a real big sinner. Okay. But,
You think?
yeah, because frankly, dude, there are a lot of people that we think are evil, like Lee Harvey Oswald, who I actually think were good.
I don't think. So,
My,
but
I think
You're-
he
you're-
was mind
hang on,
controlled.
my point is,
Yeah,
Eric, is
for
this.
sure.
We'll get into that later.
The only person that can know a man's heart is God. And I'll say it like this. If I were recruiting people for my company, I would really only want people that had maybe done some research on my business, maybe got to know a little bit about the boss, came in, hey, Dave, you're a Michigan Wolverine fan, right? We have relationship because that's what he's looking for, ultimately.
How can he forgive somebody for murdering them and then eating their body parts?
Think about it this way, though. When you research generational satanic ritual abuse or even MK Ultra mind control, these are generations of abusers that were abused themselves first. And when you incur abuse at the age of like 2, 3, 4, that actually erases
It's like a
your
chip missing.
the part of your brain that controls sympathy for other people or something. It has something to do with
Right.
your frontal lobe function. What if Hitler was a victim? I'm not, trying to bring sympathy for Hitler in any way, but what if he was one of these people that was MK Ultra mind controlled way back when? And this happens to a lot of survivors of satanic ritual abuse and MK Ultra. They actually they have abused, even killed before, but they've come to an understanding, maybe prayed, and maybe they were open to God, and they got saved at late in their lives. So,
And God goes out of his way. I mean, who does he make his most powerful communicators? Moses was a murderer. He uses corrupted men often he doesn't pick the shiny, pretty guy off. That's never his way. He's like a Hail Mary God. He's always got something cooking underneath. And so, Eric, you got to try to look at this differently. Let's go back to my clean room example. So we're making microprocessors at Intel. This is one of those rooms that it's negatively pressurized. No bacteria, even a molecule that doesn't belong there can get in, okay? They wear special suits, right? We're all familiar with these places, all right? Now, right
Sure, I
before
visit
you
them
walk
weekly.
before you walk into this clean room. Now, the clean room is a metaphor for heaven, all right?
Okay.
You have to go through a process, otherwise you will contaminate the clean room. You just can't walk in your street clothes because you think you belong there. Or because you showered and you scrubbed yourself down so hard, you're sure you got everything, and there is not a frickin' microbe that's visible to you. However, you walk through the little, the thank you,
TSA.
and the red lights go on because you are contaminated. So what Jesus is and believing in him is nothing more than putting on a suit to get into a clean room. He gave us a shortcut. But if you think you're going to get in because you scrubbed down harder than Adolf Hitler scrubbed down, you're fucking, excuse me, you're wrong.
way.
Well, look, you
jar.
guys all owe me
First round.
multiple dollars, but I will be putting one back into the jar. First swear
Okay,
word of
that's
the
a
day.
brilliant way to describe it, though. That's honestly.
Use Jesus, God, and an F-bomb in the same sentence.
You know what? I will say this, that I feel like here on planet Earth, this is
Or the
your
Earth plane.
test. This is your test.
Yeah, I view this really as, look, all
is your
human
test.
institutions run very similarly, hierarchical. And what do you, so you see an ad, everyone, it's like joining the army, okay? They put ads out for, anyone can join the army, anyone can join, anyone can go to heaven. Well, the first thing you got to do is, well, you go to your recruiter and you sign up. That's the day you go, Jesus, if you're real, let your, appear to me. And then he's going to show up in
take
your
the
life
wheel.
and get ready for it to get upside down. Because everything you thought, everything you think is good, actually, because we've been programmed by a system run by something pretty evil that doesn't want us to recognize who Jesus is and what he's here to save us from. So, I was going somewhere with this.
And Jesus says you cannot enter heaven unless you are born again in the Spirit. That's the key right there.
You know what?
So this,
I've always felt like I have had the Spirit in me and whatnot. But here's what really confuses me is how people are like, Jesus, take the wheel, for example. Or I'm just going to give it all up to God. Everything in my life, all my stress, all my worries, all my everything. I'm just going to give it up to God. I'm going to just sit back and let God handle it.
And like escape,
I can't let
escapism.
that happen.
That-
if I just sat back and was like, "Here, God," my life would just go to all
that
hell.
statement
don't mind
right
my-
there, when I heard that,
right?
that probably caused more frustration in my life. What does that mean, give it up to God?
You can't just be like, "Hey, okay, here, take my debt, take my this."
So
Like,
look, we are in, we're revisiting World History 101. That's an upper level class. We're not.
Right.
That's like our junior year. We're freshmen right
if
now.
you're that praiseful of God, is He going to just bless you with rains of money and like all of a sudden your mortgage is just going to get paid?
No,
Well, there's like
he
the
makes
TBN.
no promises about this world.
Okay.
Right now, this is not his world.
Right. This
The
is a
person
test.
holding the deed to earth is Satan.
Oh yeah.
So two things I want to put closure on: the military example, and your. So we were kind of going back and forth on like, should I get baptized or not? You are not saved based on your actions. Whether that means if they're good, you're not going to heaven, and if they're bad, you're not necessarily going. To God, that's irrelevant. He knows we are going to sin, and he knows the worst freaking things humanity can do. Things that are much worse than anyone in this room's even dreamed
I
of.
sin all the time, but I always ask for forgiveness.
Oh,
at
I
the end of
can't
the day.
go an hour without it. I just sin now. I literally can't. And if you try, so if you think you're saved because you went to get baptized, you're not thinking properly.
Good.
However,
Good. I'm glad you
if
said that.
your heart, what it matters is where your heart is, and if
Yes.
your heart has been lit up, you're going to want to go get baptized.
Yeah.
Don't think one causes you to be saved.
Right.
It is merely a correlation of those that are saved. There's one marker. They'll want to actually go through the ritual of dipping their head in water, which I know I did. I think you did, right? And nothing magical for
I
me
want to do it
happened
in the
on
middle
that
of a
day.
river in the southern states.
Yeah, why
somewhere.
not?
That'd
River
be amazing
Jordan.
with the choir singing in the background.
And you can do that. You can even, one of the things they teach you in Catholic catechism, if there's one thing they teach you that might be worthwhile, is if someone's dying, you're taught on how to baptize them.
Wow.
But their fallacy is they baptize babies.
Right.
But so you have to be old enough to choose it yourself. So they're under this, here again,
False
this is how
premonition,
religion
yeah.
screws up what's written in the Bible. It's supposed to be a conscious choice.
Yeah.
A 12-month-old baby cannot choose to follow God.
I feel like
And
the
that
parents
baptism
just
is-
get peace of mind from that, and that's all there is to
Right, I
that.
did.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I had my son baptized.
Well, I gave you peace of mind, probably.
No, not. I
Not
was
even?
doing it for the. I was doing it for the family around me because it
Right.
gave them peace of mind.
Right.
And my son's 7 now, and he knows that when the day comes, he's gonna have to go dip his head under water. I'm having trouble getting him to take a shower right now. So let's
Oh yeah,
For
I
me,
went through all that.
I had all your questions that
get
you're
my kid out of
asking
the shower.
are
He's 11.
rock solid
Yes,
and
yes.
legit, and it's everything that I was wondering too, and that's why I hated Christianity so much, because I'm like, you're gonna try to sell me this like sham of a religion where you can just believe on your last breath.
Yeah.
It didn't seem feasible to me. I
No.
just completely dismissed it. I just thought it was the dumbest thing. I had to see that our government was directly involved in satanic activities, worship of Moloch, Baal, Satan. They are involved in child trafficking
Oh,
and
yeah.
sacrifice of children to Satan. And you can, this is just easily researchable. You can start with Bohemian Grove. You can look into McMartin preschool case, Franklin
Jonathan
Credit Union
Gosch
scandal,
the
case.
Johnny
island
Gosh,
that the president
Hampstead
and them
cover-up,
would go to. What was
Jeffrey
that?
Yeah, they share a
Epstein.
common theme.
This
Yeah.
is, I mean, you can
Fort
just
Wayne.
start. You can start with Bohemian Grove, but it's like I had to see the darkness before I was even ready to accept any
That's
any
like if you
theology
would have
at all.
sold wrong word. If you would have tried to convince me about God and Jesus on the merits of goodness and faith, I would have never come to him. I found it because I found literally
The darkness,
Satan.
yeah.
It's like you come up face to face, and you know this is and I knew
He's
he
hiding
was
in plain sight.
And you have, and you guys started getting down that rabbit hole, and you're thinking there's a way to fight this.
Yes, because I wanted to stick it to whoever
Yeah.
was sticking it to me first
Yeah.
by lying to me about my
But
whole
so
history and life.
another level of deception. Remember, and Satan's nets get a lot more frequent and stronger as you get closer to the edge. So they might try and trip someone up by thinking, "Oh, there's good witches and bad witches." All bad.
I like sandwiches.
All bad.
So sandwiches are good. That might be the only exception.
And at the end of the day,
See, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that there's. I believe that there's evil witchcraft, and I believe that there's good witchcraft.
there is
period.
no such thing as good witchcraft.
It's all good juju. It's
called
all
wisdom.
At the
planet
end of the
Earth,
day,
nature,
you are
natural.
tapping into.
Natural, the
Harry Potter.
moon, the sea, herbs, crystals.
Okay, look.
That's
I'm
the
talking
witchcraft
about.
I'm talking about.
That's not really witchcraft, though. That's like
It is,
medicine
though,
doctor.
but it's.
Medicine man.
I mean, you're pulling things from nature in a good white witch way. Balance
understood,
out the stars and
but
the
I
moons
just want you to
and
know,
nature
a white
and-
witch, for the reasons we were giving Eric, would not
Right.
be saved.
My sister.
Right.
Because in order
She's a
to,
white witch.
you gotta.
I
God goes
believe
out
in
of his
that.
way talking about you cannot be dealing with mediums and horoscopes and because when
But those
people
things
think they're-
exist.
right? They do, and they're see. God wouldn't warn us about something that has no danger, because when you go to a medium and you think you're talking to your dead grandmother, no, you're not. You're simply talking to a demon that was around and has a long memory.
A familiar spirit of
Familiar,
your
and
grandma.
they hang around
Thank God
families.
I don't go do all that.
So they will
I've never
know.
done that.
They will know inside information. They can convince a lot of people that go to see a medium. And
Well,
the medium,
not all of them are going to have like the right heart in it. They're out to make the money and whatnot. But
So-
that's not the kind of witchcraft I'm talking
But
about.
there is.
I'm talking about
I don't want to get
earthly.
too far. Witchcraft. That's a
I thought we were doing predictive programming.
exactly.
Yeah,
and
let's-
we are doing predictive programming, but
But it's a good
in
topic
our own
for
weird
later.
way,
But
okay?
we'll bring it back because my sister tries to convince me all the time that she talks to my mom and sees my mom.
it's not your mom she's talking.
She's talking to
She
someone.
sees her, but
Then-
whatever. I don't believe her because I don't believe in.
But
any of
she's
this
talking
stuff,
to.
so-
She's not talking to herself, and she's not insane. She is communicating with something. It's just a. It's frankly,
Anyway,
it's a
let's get onto
demon.
these
She doesn't know it.
pictures.
Military closure. They advertise for anyone to join the military, and Charles can probably comment on this. You sign up, you go to basic training, and then what do they do for the next, what is it,
Kick
13
you
weeks?
8 weeks.
They now make it seem like they're trying to get
They
rid
knock
of
you down, right? Yeah.
They put the meanest, hardest, most driving ass dudes, and they're like, in a way, trying to weed you out.
There they are.
They break
and
them
they
down
are.
Exactly
to
what
the
they are
point
doing.
where they break down.
And this goes back to what KJ said, which, all of this junk got started in Genesis because a third of the angels fell. I wouldn't be surprised if because God's doing this, he's going to reach a certain number, and we're getting very close to it, that he's going to replenish heaven, the third that fell, with the spirits of human. That's a personal theory
Right.
that I can't
She got no evidence.
You know
to
what's
back it up,
bizarre though? The way they do that in the
hypothesizing.
military, they do the same thing at frat houses and stuff. Don't they?
Hazing
Those are all
and
based upon
stuff.
the demon.
They do. They do.
Yeah.
I was in a fraternity
yeah.
at college. Same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely.
So, okay. So,
All spirits are evil.
what?
You're saying that anyone.
all spirits.
No,
are
I'm not
evil?
saying all spirits are evil.
You can't
Good
say
question.
that spirit that person's talking to is evil. You don't know whether it's evil.
Well, that's why in the
Wrong.
Bible it
I
says to
disagree.
test the spirit.
If the spirit is saying that it's Eric's grandmother, it's lying, hence it's evil.
How do you know it's not Eric's grandma?
Because that
Biblical
soul, that
facts. That we,
that soul is not free to roam around wherever it wants. That soul is in one of two places. It's either in hell's waiting room, which is sometimes called Hades.
Purgatory.
No,
That's a
it's
Catholic.
purgatory is ambivalent. This place is a place of pain and suffering, and it's temporary because hell's not open
They're
yet.
right and left-handed.
Or you're in heaven's waiting room, which is known as Abraham's bosom. Jesus called it paradise.
Abraham's got a
Guns N'
bosom.
Roses songs.
These are the waiting rooms. It's basically like you're waiting for your sentencing.
I'd rather be in like Aaron's bosom or something. You know? KJ's bosom.
Oh,
anyway,
maybe.
This is a Christian show.
All right.
Okay,
Predictive programming.
we are in a evil system, so let's see how they operate because they do play with our mind, and it's at work on many levels, on what is overt and clearly easily visible, which we've done a few of those. Now let's go look at one that you cannot deny. Most of us that are old enough have seen this. Do you guys remember when radio networks would sign off at the end of the night? Remember when television shows
TV,
actually
yes.
stopped broadcasting like at midnight or 2 a.m.?
Yeah, the beginning of Poltergeist.
And do you remember there would be a, it was either the national anthem or
Yeah.
America the Beautiful?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we're going
Dang,
to watch.
We're old. How do we
Let's watch.
remember
This
this?
breakdown was done by someone else. Let's
Okay.
watch what was also written in that message
Okay.
that subconsciously does influence books. I mean, I studied psychology, social psychology at college. This is very real, like how the mind works. We were talking about that today. And I do know this. It's the same reason you guys have all heard of the examples where they've put a frame of a thing of popcorn, they splice it into a movie in the 1950s and 60s. They measured this.
Yeah.
Unvisible to the human eye.
Oh,
But for
really?
the movies that they did that for, they saw some like 100% increase in people going to get popcorn.
I never knew that. That's cool.
All right. These are
Subliminal
some of the
messages.
subliminal messages. Okay, I'm going to hit play, and we're going to see what whoever was behind the networks. in
Same
the
people behind the
1960s.
Little Mermaid poster.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, you guys got to look carefully. You guys got to look carefully. I'm going to hit play. So this is going to be slowed down.
Okay.
Or don't question government. Did you guys see that?
No.
Our national anthem.
All right, hang on. Just listen. They'll explain it. We'll get it. This is at normal
Can you
speed.
turn it up? It's time for the hidden messages. Okay. Okay. Oh, say, can you see?
Nothing there. Trust the government. Did you guys see that?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Hang on.
I couldn't even get those things
Watch.
that you just stare at, those pictures.
Just look at the lyric. You
Your
got to look
brain
at the
got
word
it,
that
though.
appears under the lyric. This is what's going to be said.
God.
This is what these are the real message, and we're going to explain why they're telling us this.
Wow.
Look closely.
Closely at what?
As the words.
Oh.
Do you see it? It's
Yeah.
it's like visual text backmasking or something.
Good, wait,
God
God,
is-
God is
good.
watching.
God is government. God
And by
is watching.
God, they don't
Oh
mean the
my
good guy, God.
The reason they'll believe it is because there's been a complete redefinition of God.
They mean they're satanic.
This is insanity. Wait.
Government is
Government is
God.
good.
Good.
That is that one was a comment about do not rebel against the government.
Rebellion is not tolerated.
Wow.
Consume, obey, consume, obey, consume.
Mind is blown right now.
Now, movies. What's the movie with Rowdy
They
Piper?
Live.
Yeah.
They Live was
They
real.
consume
It's a
stuff.
documentary. So
See,
says Roddy.
this is what people don't know is
Wow.
that movie's talking about something that's true. Now, we're seeing this is the actual footage of
I
the
couldn't
sign
read that
off.
one. Something about the government. It said.
God is watching. God,
Okay, let me see.
and see how
This
they
is
juxtapose God and government
insane.
together. It's like they want your God to be the government.
Well, this was part
God
of
is
this
real.
was
God is watching.
government. God.
Wow.
now you're reading.
I'm like watching.
Once
real
your eyes
hard.
open to these things,
Rebellion,
you see
government, God.
Rebellion is not tolerated.
Okay, sorry.
But
this was a phase of Satan's plan after World War II. Because remember, his plan goes back to.
Rebellion is not tolerated. That's the one.
Remember, in 1871, we know
No
that 3 world
way.
wars were already planned
Shout
by
this.
people that praise Satan. Okay?
This is way too
Balsrog,
crazy.
by the way, Balsrog is watching.
I love
He
him.
says, I'm watch at works. And then he says, that's crazy. And then he said, obey.
Yeah.
Does he wear the gimp hat to work?
Yeah.
Their flag was obey,
want his
consume.
job.
Gosh.
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
They Live. This is
This
directly
is so
taken
scary.
out of-
And how funny, because we were a nation of good ideals circa 1945. Flash forward to today, we are nothing but consumers. We are
It
superficial.
said buy something.
Believe, obey, government.
It was basically spend your money, get into debt. Right now, it was trust your government no matter what, which worked even for about 20 years after Kennedy. But Kennedy did something, because that's where we
crazy.
lost our innocence.
That was pretty cool.
That was cool.
Balsrog said,
That was
loves
like,
you back.
Wow.
Everybody.
But
I
see,
wanted to.
He said yes.
Go
he does
ahead.
wear it.
the government has been testing, has done subliminal consciousness research.
Don't
for
even. The
so
government's
long.
too big, dude. These
Oh,
are.
yeah.
You're talking about these
The
are
backroom folks.
Grace.
these are dark projects. They are
Yeah.
not. Yes, they are
Shapeshifters.
paid by the people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but these people do not represent the USA.
It's funny, everyone-
These are evil people or
Right.
ignorant ones. that
People
don't
always
know
say it's the 1%. No, it's like the 0.000000001%.
Right.
What I
read that.
call, there's a chapter in my book, it's called The War of the Sheep. And on one side, you have about 0.1% of the population that knows what's going on, and they're on like the dark side. They are willingly helping bring this on.
The dog side.
Then you've got about 5% of the planet, which is like the Christians. They're awake. And they are trying, and what's in the middle? The 94.9% in the middle? Those are the sheep, the very sheep image that
Those
was
are the Trump
cloned on our.
supporters. No, I'm just kidding.
And there are 7
Whole nother shit.
billion individual battles for 7 billion individual souls going on right now. Like right now, there are dark spirits that are not happy you guys are frickin' here, and you're going to
Big
feel this is
I will
what-
battle them all.
Good.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to get back. Let's get through some
I'm not
images
scared.
here.
Right,
Are we
did
ready?
it- We did this
At
one
all.
last week.
We did, but I forgot. I didn't give you. Remember, I said I only like to include images that have 2 references in an image.
Mm-hmm.
We know the guy's about to crush the Twin Towers. What was the other reference in here?
Wow.
Justification. Look how the
no,
towers.
no, no.
Oh,
He's
What-
a ginger.
what's-
A soulless ginger.
Got a towel on his head.
Thank you. What is he wearing?
He's got the burqa or
He's
whatever.
Right.
got a Muslim
Right.
headpiece on.
right. Well, there's a bunch of
I love
different.
gingers, by the
There's a
way.
bunch of stuff going on in that image. And again,
Owlhead, yeah.
and again, it's like you can.
Ooh, look at that. Ooh.
Oh, that's horrifying.
This was a real life photograph
Shut
caught
up.
in the
There's
9/11
no way that was
smoke.
photoshopped. There's no way. That is
Thing is,
photoshopped.
you are correct. It is photoshopped, but not by
Just
a
contrast?
stupid, joking public.
contrast.
It's photoshopped before it airs on CNN.
Wow.
They do Photoshop this stuff.
That is.
Hang on, that's
wow.
not the only one.
That's Shanksville right there.
Yeah,
Where there's
by
no
the way,
plane.
your belief that 19 guys did 9/11, you really also got to believe.
What is this?
You got to believe that there's that I believe a 767 is here. Okay?
Well, no, it skirted into the woods and disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh,
You know, well,
so it
hey,
disintegrated.
that is a crack neighborhood. them scrappers.
It worked fast.
Quick.
You can buy that plane on eBay if you want.
So the plane was just gone.
Here's another way to look at it: is
Disappeared.
look at those guys. An entire 767.
Is that large? I'm joking. I'm
Dude, a
joking.
Cessna could do.
Hold on,
that.
all right. Remember,
The ground smoking, debris everywhere, pieces of metal, paper, insulation, wiring, and I just looked around and no people. I'm thinking, where are the people?
hold on, all right. Remember, we didn't do this on air last week. We did it next door. We were talking about it next door. My mom's best friend from high school, her son was on the flight from Scotland that blew up over Lockerbie, Scotland, which was a terrorist attack. That plane blew up in midair and was scattered miles. Detroit Metro Airport had a crash back in 82 when Cecilia Sheehan survived. That plane blew up 1,000 feet above the, not even 1,000 feet above.
No, I mean it never.
Hundreds of feet above the ground.
I drove by, saw the
wreckage was
building.
every flipping where. There was bodies strewn everywhere. There was clothes. There was everything. You're trying to tell me. Throw the camera up on that, Jimmy, and blow it up just a little bit. You're telling me right there
And it's
that
square.
a 767
Why is it
plane,
square shaped?
which holds 200 plus people,
Like a hot
No.
tub.
blew up right there.
I'm telling you the exact
No,
opposite.
I know it.
The
These people are trying to.
the
say
people that have formed your thoughts about 9/11 and have formed your thoughts about
Doesn't
God
look like there's a trail
are trying to
it.
tell you that an airplane flew in here. My point is,
Bingo.
we're going to show you these people lie about things that are small and huge. Some of them impact your eternal soul.
So all right, so
I'm
now, in David, in this China,
on.
you know what? We'll talk about it.
No,
some other
go
time.
ahead, go ahead,
But
dude.
just put a pin in it.
I love
Is where did all these people disappear to that were on those planes?
They disintegrated along with the plane.
Well, there was no plane. There,
I
you-
know.
that just proves
they-
right there was no plane.
Right.
You know what I mean? And the
Yeah.
people that called their
Oh, they're in
they
the
made
lab of luxury
flippin'
in a different
movies
country.
about it. We're
somewhere.
going in. You know what I mean? We're all,
Well,
they,
if you
they
put
made
the,
catchphrases off that shit. Where are those people?
Okay, look, either way you slice it, we're dealing with people that have no problem.
Like I said, put a pin in it. We'll talk about it some other time. But
We're dealing with people that don't have a problem allowing thousands to die.
Yes.
So I'm going to put on my detective hat here because the two planes that took off from Boston, from Logan.
that disappeared completely.
So I think the Operation Northwoods plan is kicked in where they send up a fake drone.
The CIA has been developing plans for covert operations that involve the in-flight swapping of commercial airliners with military drones since the 1960s. One such plan was called Operation Northwoods, and it detailed how to replace a civil airliner with a military drone in mid-air, unbeknownst to the air traffic controllers. After the swap, the airliner would be landed in a military base. The drone would continue to fly, appearing on radar as the original plane, and would be remotely guided all the way into the target. If those were military drones and not regular airliners, what happened to the passengers?
They didn't disappear completely. They landed at Cleveland, and all Cleveland air traffic controllers acknowledged these planes landed at Cleveland. They documented what the serial numbers were on the airplanes. The serial numbers of those airplanes were still in use after 9/11.
It's an interesting postscript that Flight 93 was spotted on April 10th, 2003 at Chicago's O'Hare Airport by David Friedman, a United Airlines employee who records all of his flights. The tail number, N591UA, was spotted on Flight 1111, a United Airlines 757. And according to the FAA, both N591UA and N612UA, Flights 93 and 175, are still valid.
So the Cleveland air traffic controllers saw everyone being deplaned, and they were taken into a NASA hangar. From there, we never hear from them again. And I suspect that they were all just assassinated.
We don't know whether this is the actual end the passengers met, but one thing we can say for sure. Those who called their relatives from their cell phones could not have placed those calls from the airplanes in flight.
They got new identities and they're living.
Right.
It's possible, Do
Right.
you remember the wife, and Meeks, maybe you can look this up.
That's where the TV show Lost came from.
Remember the wife of that political figure who she was on the airplane that was heading into the Pentagon, and they even played some of her phone calls through her husband. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It wasn't playing, Valerie. Figure out who that was. Because, so this woman, CNN presents the fact that they're interviewing this woman's husband on air. He's freaking out because my wife's on one of those planes.
Right.
And he's talking about the voicemail that she just left him. And he's, oh my God, this is a guy that's caught in this tragedy right in the middle of it. And everyone's listening to him intently. And he talks about how his wife would, and that plane ends up supposedly, not really, but something hits the Pentagon. So now his wife is supposedly dead, right?
Theodore Olson, who had initially told the press he had received 2 cell phone calls from his wife Barbara, changed his story to calls made from an air phone.
Funny thing is several years after 9/11, like the hijackers, she is caught at a border trying to get from Poland to Germany. She's stopped by Interpol. They figure out who she really is. Now, you will not see that story on CNN, but you should be able to go find that.
Whoa.
And that kind of shit happens all the time. These people go on the run. Like, do you really think, remember the NASA astronaut that wore diapers?
Yeah.
The minute I hear that right now, you should be thinking, that person, I'm guessing, was trying to get a word out.
Right.
And they got to her first. And by the time that
she was going to kill her boyfriend or
hey,
some shit.
right. But that's what you heard.
Yeah. Well, that's what they
she's
made me
wearing
think.
diapers, driving through Arkansas, and she's going to kill her boyfriend. Well, nothing she has to say about aliens is going to be, that will not mean jack shit.
Okay, well, Chris Cornell, Chester Benningfield, and who else? Anthony Bourdain, and almost Corey Feldman. Bam, there you go.
I should put up your Corey Feldman stabbing. Like, he really was stabbed.
He really was. They tried to kill him.
It doesn't surprise me.
He was the only one that made it. Michael Hutchinson?
It was Barbara Olson.
That wasn't a...
Look up Barbara Olson.
CNN commentator Barbara Olson, wife of U.S. Solicitor General Ted Olson. She reportedly called her husband twice on a mobile phone to tell him her plane was being hijacked.
And you guys got to get past the Snopes, because here's what Snopes does. It's now the first search that always pulls up on Google. How convenient.
Right.
Where they're there to tell us, to prove a negative, which you can't do.
Right.
Oh, no, that was a fake.
Here we go. Once dead 9/11 victim. Once dead 9/11 victim, quote unquote victim, Barbara Olson arrested in Europe. Barbara Olson, a conservative commentator and attorney, alerted her husband, Solicitor General Ted Olson, that the plane she was on was being hijacked Tuesday morning. Ted Olson told CNN. A short time later, the plane crashed into the Pentagon. Barbara Olson is presumed to have died in the crash. Her husband said she called him twice on a cell phone from American Airlines Flight 77, which is en route to Washington Dulles International Airport to Los Angeles.
Fast forward a couple years.
So then she
lives.
Running around. She's still alive, just like all the Challenger astronauts are teaching in
the criers on
professors.
each like huge event that happens. There's always the same people on TV that you can document that are paid
like
to be
Sandy
criers.
Hook and all that shit.
Yeah.
Crisis actors.
Yes.
So Hooper told me about the challenge, Space Shuttle Challenger. Remember Kristen
Oh,
McCullough?
we got let out of school for that.
I watched it
Were you in
live
school?
because I had an ear infection, so I was at home watching it with
Okay,
my
we
parents.
were watching it live in
So
school.
I wasn't with all my friends. I was with my parents. So my
Okay.
parents were like, "Holy shit!" and turned it off.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm like,
Holy
no, I want to
beep.
watch it. But yeah, I'm sorry. But, so Hooper, fast forward to that was in what 1984 that happened, 83 that the Challenger blew up, 85 whatever it was. So we fast forward to when I meet this Joker, and he's like, "Oh, those people are still alive," and he threw up a website to it, and like every one of them except Kristen McCullough. That was the only one they never could find her whatever. But all the other ones are still were still alive.
But so are Tupac and Biggie, though.
Yeah.
So.
I haven't gone in to verify that. So there's a chance that could be.
I want to go to their colleges where they're teaching.
It would be right up NASA's alley to absolutely. They are nothing more than a giant movie studio. Really.
For sure.
You going to prison? El Chapo's double? Yeah.
You guys, we should start doing on-location investigating.
Yes. If you guys go to FBI Vault or vault.fbi.gov. It's a federal website. It's the FBI's documents website. You just made me think of this, Charles, by your comment. The FBI has a number of files of agents that were tracking who they thought was Adolf Hitler in Argentina up through the early 1960s.
I thought it was into the 70s.
Maybe as far as the 70s.
I thought it was like early 70s.
But okay, that's all like conspiracy rumor until you go to the FBI website. This is the FBI's website. Yeah. This isn't a conspiracy.
J. Edgar Hoover was a pimp, man. He used to.
J. Edgar Hoover woke up to it.
Oh yeah.
I think he woke up to what was up.
He was a G, man. You think Al Capone was a powerful dude?
Without a doubt. And I think, look, one of his quotes that's in my book is, it was like Kennedy's quote, we are up against a massive conspiracy. And he was like, we're up against the same conspiracy that Jesus Christ was up against on that mountain 2,000 years ago. That's his way of saying the devil's real. J. Edgar Hoover. This is because you can't come out, thank you, Satan programming and media. You can't come out and say Jesus and Satan and run for office and have a
but it's correct to say good or evil. Like
you can
understand that, but good and evil is the same as.
But there's a big
Jesus
difference, like biblical evil. No. When you see that, you're okay. What? Back on track. Predictive programming. So the West Cam. I don't like just throwing things out and saying, West Cam did this or did that, but they really are a military contractor. They really do hologram technology.
So, West Cam, just recap.
Yeah, what is West Cam?
West Cam was caught on film. Yeah. So hang on, let's play a couple things here that I think you guys will.
Well, West Cam was the right there, that
right.
There.
Mm-hmm. They are a defense contractor that was all over the World Trade Center, and what do? They do hologram technology.
And directed energy is listed as something they do.
Exactly.
And that's the biggest faux.
Hang on, let me kill the volume.
That's the biggest. Yeah, and that one right there was what we talked about last week. Where you see the nose
that's one of them.
You see the nose of the plane, which would have been disintegrated.
So
you
what
see the
they
nose
do?
of the plane went through.
They do video editing.
Steel bars. No, they do hologram.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, video editing.
Okay.
Well, this is on the fly stuff.
Right.
Okay.
And they made so many mistakes on 9/11.
We talked about this last week for the listeners that.
Right. We talked about West Cam, which can also be read as We Scam. Yep. They were accidentally caught. Obviously, their presence was very pervasive. Yeah. There's actually an interview here of a West Cam, the guy that was flying the very helicopter.
And he's a West Cam employee?
No.
West Cam was just the
That's
camera.
just something that's attached underneath. But
well,
he
like
has
that's the hologram maker right there. That thing, right?
All right, so here's a couple of things we're going to look for. Because this is where the smoking gun is.
Smoking gun.
We are going to show images that were captured live on television on 9/11. Now, we're going to see something that's pretty incredible. This by itself isn't like, monument making for me. But we are going to see the cone of the airplane go all the way through the building. Right. That was caught live on CNN, Fox, ABC, everybody.
You did the movie. How many steel girders did it go through to get to the other side? I mean, that building, it looks this big on TV, but it's freaking hundreds and hundreds of feet wide. Mm-hmm. So it had
the outer. It never would have.
Look at that plane when it hit the bridge in Detroit.
Right. And we talked about this off air last week. The cone of the plane is meant to take the absorption, like the soft wall in NASCAR. You know what I mean? So it's going to buckle as soon as it hits anything.
Course.
But on that picture that you're about to show or the video, you see the nose of the cone come through the building, even though it went through thousands of fucking steel.
Problem number one.
Iowa dollar.
That by itself, I would not be showing you this image if that's the only reason we're showing it to you. Here's the reason I'm showing it to you. Is because in subsequent videos, as these same networks went and quote-unquote replayed the event, they erased out that nose cone.
What?
So it
Only
wasn't.
CNN was fed
It
that.
wasn't
and then all of a sudden
it's
gone.
there on the real one, which was a mistake on West Cam's part. corrected by the video editors somewhere.
Someone went, holy shit.
Basically, yes. But yeah.
Joe,
We do
get
need
on
to
it.
swear,
Well, who
Jack.
was the Fox announcer
by now.
who was totally thrown off because he looks back at Building 7 and he's already read a teleprompter
About how
saying that it has
and then it
collapsed.
goes down.
No, and then he gets all flustered. He's like, well, it's maybe not collapsed or maybe it is collapsing.
One of the other buildings, Building 7 in the World Trade Center complex, is on fire and has either collapsed or is collapsing.
But you can clearly see it behind
And the
him
thing
in the
stood there for
video.
2 more hours. So
Yeah,
he had to
exactly.
just hold his tail in between his legs for 2 hours. It's like you just got caught red-handed, dude. All right, I'm going to hit play on this.
I'm all excited. I'm like,
All right, let's do some. I think we want volume. I think. No, we don't.
smooth rock and roll music.
Okay, so these are all live where we can see the
It
actual.
didn't even look like it went through anything. It was so fast.
Well,
too.
it's
like
going through the
behind
building
it.
behind, exactly.
Yeah, it's behind it.
You can see it there again. My point is, it was on all cameras from all different angles, meaning we are dealing here now not with video editing. We are dealing with active image manipulation. I mean, this is
Like
incredible
hologram?
software.
Okay, is that what you mean?
A hologram.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, like Tupac at Coachella.
Right.
you know?
Okay. So it was a straight up hologram. That.
Yeah, I mean, Mariah Carey can now put on concerts in 3 places simultaneously. They did that thing with
It's
with
amazing.
Prince Charles, where they're like,
Wow.
okay, whatever, just making fun of stuff. Okay, all right. So
Sorry,
something
Bucky.
hologram-wise was going on. I think. Okay, we've seen that, and I'll tell you another little interesting trick they do. Okay, so this is the Westcam helicopter. That helicopter is going to pop up again in a video. So here is now the History Channel. By the way, anything on cable, it's a McDonald's menu, man.
For
All
sure.
They're shaping
For
the
sure.
story, and they even got their little,
Right.
they even got their little Illuminati pyramid right in there. Thank you, History Channel. They're more like the Hitler Channel. it
I
seems
never
like these
even
days.
realized it. That's funny.
You'll start to now that you've seen a couple, you are going to start to really see 'em.
All over the place.
I've been seeing all kinds of
this?
signs.
All right, we
right
are
through
watching the History Channel's
Right.
a documentary after the fact of the events of
It
9/11.
flew right through all that smoke.
Now, do you think the History Channel is going to let us see Westcam? What do you think they will
Probably
do?
not.
No.
I think they will not let us see it. This should pop up here, but we're going to get a view. We're going to get that same image, but they've now shadowed out all of the West. Again, they're hiding it. Very hard to catch. And I think we're about to get it right here. Now see how they have it all blacked out now?
Oh,
Whereas
so they're utilizing
before,
that as
we had a
they're
lit.
editing. Oh, yeah.
So that is an easy post-editing video
Oh, yeah.
trick.
Oh yeah.
They don't want you to see.
All right, so
certain
understand these
things.
guys are
Crazy.
in control of our media. They're in high positions of power. These guys can make presidents shut up.
Shut
All
up and
right.
put up.
Yeah, except for Mark.
So far, unless he's the best deception of them all, which he could be. Yeah, but I wanted to get closure on. Remember, I always look. There's got to be 2 things that bring us
You got
into
the,
this.
The New York.
And I
9/11
just wanted to
and the
show
money
you the
with Twin
dollars.
Towers.
So this is the BART money superimposed on. You mentioned the.
Boaz and Jachin, or whatever their names are, the 2 columns
What?
that are.
I don't want to put our friend on the spot. Maybe you know how those are pronounced. They're not allowed to, or he can tell us, but would have to kill us.
But they're
So
very
either way-
important. And
Why, are
on
you
the,
a Mason? Are you a Mason?
Yeah, everything's public. Everything is public.
Satan behind me, man.
That's what they tell the younger Masons. Which we can.
We have a friend that works on Area 51, and he won't say anything.
Interesting.
Seriously, yeah, we'll talk about that another day, though, right? Well, we don't know much to
But
talk
it's
about.
curious-
But still, it's cool to have a friend that works over there.
Artistically, though, like when you look at that dollar, I mean, like just as an artist myself, I would never depict a dollar like that with the
Right.
2 columns and the like globes above the columns. Like I would.
Wait till we get to currency, because now you're going
Yeah.
to really start to put it
Sure.
together who's behind this. So
Sure.
we're going to get there. But I wanted to touch on something KJ brought up, which was the Medusa touch. Now, there are no coincidences. That one caught her attention for some reason. And how strange, because wasn't even aware of this. I went back and looked up Medusa touch to see if there's anything else Like, what drew her attention to it? Because now I'm looking it up. And then I come to find out that it's associated with this one-eyed symbolism and this, like, satanic SS lightning, Nazi SS. You see this in a lot of. All right, so ground zero, these are the eyes. Now, remember, ground zero, all this along has been a symbolic joining of two DNA lines. Now, I'm going to tie this together because this is the highest human. Yes. Now, this is some sort of sacred ground.
Okay.
They have rituals there to this day.
Was it New York? Like, the whole city is designed like that. Like, it's all sacred ground. Like, the points of the streets come together to
There's
make
a lot
compass
more.
And,
I mean,
that's
when
another
I think
show,
sacred
dude.
ground, I think of Indians. That's what I think of sacred ground.
These are some of
Just
the
put it out
actual event. These are some of the rituals caught after 9/11. So at ground zero, these Satanists are still doing these. See the eye in there? They're still doing these rituals. And so we're connecting. Remember, the new layout of ground zero mimics the pyramids of Giza, mimics Orion's belt. And where does the seeing eye, pyramid, Egypt, Osiris? Now, Egypt is one of Satan's demonic kingdoms. We're going to show you that in a minute because God said that would happen. He talked about all the kingdoms before they came. All right, so this is the one-eye symbology we see. And then all over the World Trade Center, how just weird.
It was the subway, the
this was
Chambers
before?
Station subway.
Yeah, this is before.
beneath it.
Right, this
Okay.
was. You just saw, this was just there.
That is weird. Just
like the Georgia
just in
Guidestones.
like some tiles here and there. It
Just
wasn't like
there.
Yeah.
There's no artist attribution.
Weird.
There's no nothing.
Very weird.
Just a bunch of eyes.
Just weird.
And that is
I
telling.
screwed up years ago, and I got one of my ex's eyes tattooed on my back. So now I have eyes.
You
on
have
my
the
back.
eye of Horus?
Well, it's just weird looking.
Well, I have the eye of Horus.
Right,
Oh,
and
yeah?
outer
Brown eye?
tattoos don't mean anything, man.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about something else.
All right, so this is also in the World Trade
Sorry.
Center. This is
that's
what I
the-
called the ritual.
The subway beneath. the
Where's
World
this
Trade
at?
Center.
Oh, this is the
This
subway?
is the World
Yeah.
Trade Center. This is the floor. It's a flat Earth map. Ironic with a single eye at the middle.
So this
something-
was ritualistic.
Just more
Yes.
evidence that the planning of the destruction of these buildings was a long, long time
Well, they
ago.
tried it
Yeah.
10 years prior to that with the other
Oh,
dum-dum that
yeah.
Yeah. Let's go to the next folder because these start to actually get kind of more shocking as we go. Currency or Book of Daniel.
Currency
we
next
just talked
week.
about currency, so go to currency.
Oh, really? See, I called it out. Currency next week.
Okay.
Because you could get so deep.
So, have you guys ever heard of that thing that if you fold?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Of course.
Make a paper airplane.
Okay, you've seen this, right?
Yes.
Pretty. Does this mean
Yes.
anything to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
You see the towers burning?
Yeah.
It looks like it's blown up.
Okay.
I've researched
Pretty
this.
spooky.
One image by itself, this does not mean a damn thing to me. By one image by
But it's
itself,
bizarre.
this could be random chance. We are going to show what the random possibility is that not just one bill, but a sequence of bills shows 9/11 from
Oh, yeah. I saw
the
this.
building.
I saw this. So it shows like the planes coming and everything. I
because
saw it,
the
yeah.
random possibility.
is in Somalia.
Because look, it's smoke.
We are talking about a number
Buildings,
that
that's crazy.
is 10 to the 100th power. This is a number that scientists say
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
takes a miracle or it was planned. It takes intent.
Right.
All right, so
Jake, you thought
$20
that
bill.
last one was going to blow your mind. Wait till you see this.
Oh, great.
We'll get to the $1,000 bill in a minute.
There's a $1,000 bill.
Oh yeah, that's
I've never seen one in my life.
Wow.
The 10 has the one tower hit.
Thank you. Okay, so the 5 starts. The towers are clean.
50 is disintegrating.
$10 bill. There's been one hit on the tower. Second, the $20 bill. Now both towers are hit. $50 bill. They're collapsing, and the $100 bill. There's
It's
nothing
just
coming
a-
up by a little smoke.
Wow.
Now let's go to the $500 and $1,000 bills,
Which
which
I've
aren't
never
in
seen in my
circulate
life.
because
Well, they haven't
don't
had them in 20 years, so.
Well, no,
They're
they,
still there, but.
they exist symbolically. But
Only
I don't.
P. Diddy has them.
I don't think you're going to walk into a store and give them a $1,000 bill without getting laughed at. But here's what you have in the $1,000 bill: you've got a phoenix rising and a serpent coming out from the ground. And this is what Satan is talking about to his local and the higher ups that are down. because this is the rise of the New World Order.
Where's the phoenix?
You don't see a phoenix at the bottom of the page here? That's a
I
pheanix.
sure enough do.
that looks
Where's
like
the serpent?
The serpent is
Yeah.
here. I mean, this isn't
Look at the
folded.
wings. Look at the arms.
It's just
the
a bad
wings,
fold. All right, sorry.
I got you.
Yeah. I
So
see
now,
it.
and when you fold it the same way, you've
Looks
got
like
a
a trumpet.
serpent rising from the ashes. Now, wow, the people that print our money are somehow, or they randomly predicted 9/11 in order from $5 bill to to at least a $100 bill. Come on,
That's wild.
these guys just now they just put their stamp on this event.
Oh my god.
All right, we're now but 19 guys in caves did not do this. They can't do this. We're not talking about the people behind the Federal Reserve. And wait, we've had all these presidents warning us about these people, saying these people are evil. They are trying to take over They've been saying this since the founding of our country. We're on the edge of it. It's about to happen, and we are dumber, lazier, and more asleep than
And
we've
the funny thing
ever.
is, and this is again something you've talked about several times, is that we have the biggest library in the history of the world at our fingertips.
There's no
all we got to do is go online and look and educate ourselves.
For sure.
Not that, like listen. So you got me on a lot of things.
Me too.
The whole Bible thing and the religion thing. That's where I'm.
It
that's
took
where,
a while for me to get there.
But
man.
all the other shit, I'm like
It's like
conspiracy theories are good, but
Chip
all
it
that
in.
other stuff.
There's going to be a
Shout
day,
this.
dude.
Shout this. I'm learning too, and I'm actually very much enjoying myself, and I feel enlightened every week.
Okay,
Thank
now
you.
we're gonna I'm gonna tie this Bible passage to 9/11. And how much time do we have? Because that's about how much
12 minutes.
Oh.
Okay. Now, there are several passages in the Bible that reference the fact that there are humans on earth and there's something that's not completely human.
Oh, well, they're aliens.
Okay. Now, I have
Extraterrestrial.
no position on whether the reptilians are real or these shapeshifters on the news are really some other. I don't know. But I do know this. I now have so much faith in this book. When it says something I can't totally understand, I don't discount this book anymore. I start to look for it in real life. So hold that thought. Daniel. So Daniel was one of God's favorite prophets. This guy would have been, 700 BC? This guy was brought into the chambers of Nebuchadnezzar, and he talked to the kings of Babylon. When he was in captivity in Babylon, because this is the first time the Jews got booted out of Israel, the first time God got mad, just 70 years that time. The next time he multiplied it by 7. So this guy's just lost his home. He's a teenager. Now he's working for a king, Babylon, that just took all of his people. They would be there for exactly 70 years, God's number. Predicted, and that did happen. They were returned back. So here's one of the passages that, and this is what's unbelievable about the Bible, because it's written in what seems like frickin' codes, right? So on one hand, you got one guy who's writing something that he basically goes, I don't even know what I'm writing. Somewhere in another epoch, in another time, in another world, another language, God is giving the key to that coded message. He's giving it to another prophet. And when you see a head of brass, know that that is the empire of Babylon. And when you see the body of a lion, you know that that is Greece. So all of a sudden, the stuff Daniel's writing down that he doesn't even know what he's writing is corroborated, and it needs a third element that humans don't have access to, and that only God has it. And this is how that book is authenticated. It needs to convey something that will happen in the future, where these two pieces of information have to be joined at a future point in time, proving God is outside of time. He did predict the future. So let's read Daniel 2:40 and 2:43. 10 minutes is going to be tight. So Daniel, we are learning, Daniel was given what all of Satan's kingdoms would be after Babylon. All right? We were going to have to deal with Greece. Greece isn't on the scene yet. And he talks about who Alexander is, and he talks about the fact that Greece will be broken up into 4 kingdoms. It's exactly what happened. Then he said the Romans would come. They're not even on the world stage yet. They don't even exist as a tribe. And they would be this world power. That would be the kingdom that crucifies Jesus. And that kingdom will never be conquered. It will go hidden. He writes this in 700 BC. Now, we can look back now at history, and we know that, well, the Romans became the Vatican. And he starts to talk about, we're going to get into this in a second. Let me read Daniel 2:40 and 2:43, the 10 toes, and then we're going to circle back to, this is how you start to know that God is authentic, that this is the authentic word of God. And the fourth kingdom from Daniel. Now, this is the kingdom we live in today. We are in the fourth one. We're in the hidden Rome. It's not that hidden. Go look at our Capitol buildings. Go look at our form of government. We have adopted the Roman Empire. We really have. So I'm starting at Daniel 2:40 down here. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break in pieces and bruise. So God is saying this fourth kingdom is going to fail. It is not going to work.
As strong as it is, it's going to
Now,
fail.
later on in the Bible, we find out that Satan's going to get the New World Order up and running for 3.5 years. But it's not. What's going to derail it? Jesus' second coming. All right, now let's go to Daniel 2:43, because there's an unbelievable passage in here. We're going to tie it to the Twin Towers. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay. Now, another guy has already told us iron is the people of this kingdom. There's something about them. The miry clay, that's who we are. Most of us probably in this room. This is what God, the humanity that God has molded with clay. And whereas thou sawest iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another, even as iron is not mixed with clay. Did you guys catch anything there?
Iron.
It says, hang on. It says,
Hashtag.
something from this demonic kingdom is going to mix with the DNA of men. They shall mingle themselves with the seed of men.
Yeah.
But it's not man.
Well, they're aliens.
Well, wow. All of a sudden, maybe these 9 million alien abductions where children are being implanted in women, where
Well, I believe in that.
there is
Sure.
hybridization going on. We've got some crazy shit that's being built underneath. And this is basically God saying that they're going to try and mingle DNA again, because that's the last signs of what it was like in the days of Noah, the last time God destroyed the earth. Because when you mess with his computer code, his creation, that's about when he steps in. And here we are, ever since Molly the sheep, we are messing with
Dolly.
DNA. Everything that God said would be in place is in place, including, for me, the fact that a nation was reborn on the very day he predicted it would. I'm sorry. I am fucking sorry. God is real. You're going to have to figure this out. Okay, so
I have a quick question.
Hurry up, 'cause I'm getting yelled at here.
I just want to know, like, why, when you're told your whole life not to believe in magic or not to believe in spiritual magic, things that you can't believe in, like, why are all these things that are religious okay to believe in when they are magic? Seemingly?
look, I don't know who taught
You know
you,
what I'm saying?
but just understand.
Is that a good question?
Yes,
Okay,
because
thank you.
understand, just because our parents were our parents or our elders or our teachers were wiser, and when we were young we looked up to them as all-knowing, understand they have just been carrying the same mistakes forward all throughout history. They're as deceived as anybody.
It's like I always say, it's what I think the Bible is. It's just a bunch of stories that have been passed down from generation to generation. So, and I'm not discounting your guys' belief in the book at all. Like I said, I've read the book, but it's like your grandparents were taught by someone that was taught from that. So they just know that, and then as it goes from generation, shit changes a little bit.
Right.
You know, have you ever watched the movie Johnny Dangerously when they're in the prison line and he's like, tell Johnny his mom's getting attacked by whatever, and by the end, it's changed 500 times, and at the end, Johnny's like, what? My brother's the DA, and my mom's getting it.
Great
it's like,
reference.
So I will say this: until I was 42, I was sure it was a book of myths and had a ton of things inconsistencies.
I just don't believe, like, if you don't believe in magic, how you could believe in the Bible. That's the point that I'm making.
No,
That's a good question.
You can believe,
right?
Magic is real,
right?
But make sure you're on Jesus' side of the equation.
Exactly.
Not on a light witch. Not going to help you. She is dark.
Right.
That's the Hegelian dialectic. They take both the good and bad. And that the true answer you want is not even in the spectrum that they're.
I was protected by a white witch.
You guys,
so
we got to get to
Bad
this.
to say about that.
Okay, so we go to Daniel, and we know that the kingdoms he predicted were going to be Babylon, where he was now, then came Medo-Persia, then came Greece, then came Rome, then came Rome too. So the kingdom we're talking about, see where it says iron and clay? Mm-hmm. Now he's talking about these 10 toes. What the hell do 10 toes have to do with a kingdom? Well, in the hidden Rome, he said what would happen is it would actually be powered by 10 nations, and it gives the names of the tribes. You follow those tribes, and you hear the nations we get: Spain, France, Germany, the United Kingdom, and its little lions. Because how funny, 2,000 years ago, this unconquered land that would be called England, that is associated with a lion, comes into existence, and the USA, its little lion.
Iran, right? Or not Iran, India.
Israel.
India is part of England for a while.
So we know that
the mechanical lion that Leonardo da Vinci
in Satan's one world government, and we can start to find this going back to 1000 AD. People that knew what was going on knew that by the last days there would be no gender, which is very interesting. And this is symbolic of what happened at the towers. It is what Daniel was told by God himself, that these kingdoms, that this last kingdom would actively get involved in DNA mixing. And I'm sorry.
It's mind-blowing.
And it would happen after Israel is... I'm sorry. You cannot write
That's
that.
what prophecy proves the validity of the
3
Bible.
minutes. Thank you, my friend.
I got you all.
So, predictive programming. I'm trying to make this thing bigger, but I can't. But you'll see that here's the World Trade Center. I'm sorry I can't blow this one up right now for some reason.
Blow it up.
But it is
Freudian slip.
Right. This is the World Trade Center.
Is that predictive programming, David Hooper?
This right here? Yes. And I accidentally predicted that these towers were blown up 20 years ago. Wait, is that predictive programming? Okay, you see the DNA strand?
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
Wow. Look at that.
Okay, now, why is this tied to Nicholas Rockefeller? Well, remember, Trilateral Commission, with David Rockefeller at the head of it. David Rockefeller is not going to be the head of it. The head of it will be the Antichrist. Aaron Russo, the filmmaker behind Trading Places, he's getting to know the Rockefellers. 11 months before 9/11, they pull him aside. They said there's going to be this event in New York City. And ultimately, it's going to lead to us chipping the population. Wow. So Nicholas Rockefeller is saying this to his new buddy, Aaron Russo. Okay? Basically saying, do you want to be in on the people that have the good chip? You can do whatever you want in this world.
I had a friend, Nick Rockefeller, okay, who was one of the Rockefeller family. And he, when I was running for governor in Nevada, he came to me, introduced himself to me through an attorney, and we became friends. We started talking about things. And one of the things that we used to talk about was the ultimate plan of the banking industry, what they wanted to accomplish. So the ultimate goal that these people have in mind is the goal to create a one-world government run by the banking industry, run by the bankers, right? And the whole agenda is to create a one-world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips. Right, there'll be no more cash. And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. And all money will be in your chips. And so instead of having cash, anytime you have money in your chip, they can take out whatever they want to take out whenever they want to. They can just turn off your chip. And you have nothing. You can't buy food. You can't do anything. It's total control of the people.
And that chip's connected to a database that has your purchasing records, what you do.
Everything is in there, you know? And so they want a one-world government controlled by them, everybody being chipped, all your money in those chips, and they control the chips, and they control people. And you become a slave. You become a serf to these people. That's their goal. That's their intentions.
And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell, save he that had the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name.
Into next week, Like, why, if they want to control population, why are they so willing to give out like government welfare for people to just sit back and have baby after baby after baby? But
Because they want
it's 7:44 right now. We're gonna have to close it up. We got
they
a
want
minute
a populace that is dependent on an authority figure and one that cannot think for themselves. We'll get into that.
Exactly.
2 minutes.
Okay, 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
All right. So the Rockefellers, which would be the synagogue of Satan that Jesus talked about in Revelation 2:9 and 3:9, here they are, just as predicted. They are about to introduce the mark of the beast.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what that is going to actually be, we don't know, and very possibly the Rockefellers themselves don't know, because Satan's no dummy. He is smarter than anybody. This was not my work, someone else's. When the two become, so there are other people that are in tune to this stuff, that do research on this, so I don't have to go do it. Other people, this is how God operates his army. He'll make someone obsessed with the symbology of this, and other Christians know, oh, I can go trust this guy because he is the Word of God. That's where he's getting it. And this is basically spiritual forces warning us that we're joining two DNA lines. It's going to be the one world government of Satan. It's going to be brought in under unity, love, and peace.
New world order. Hey, we gotta continue next week. We do.
And we got 1 minute, so let me close it out here. Oh, and these are the 10 nations.
Right. See, each picture is going to be a whole story. We could do this.
At the end of the day, guys.
3 next week.
Yeah. Right.
No, we're going to. Now that we got this image thing going.
Predictive life.
We are going to do. We are going to keep looking at images, because when you can combine your eyes, your ears, and your mind, this helps you get your arm around. And sometimes we just need to see these things. At the end of the day, here's the core message. It is not to bring light or glory to all this evil going on, because it's evil.
We want to highlight that.
We want to expose it so
Yes.
that people understand what it is we are really up against.
Yeah.
Because there actually is no reason to be afraid. Once you figure it out and you realize, who your cavalry is. But you got to sign up with the cavalry.
Yes.
They are not going to pick you up, Eric, just because you didn't murder anyone in this life. Okay?
You got to join the team.
So if you guys aren't sure about Jesus,
Team
and
of
I'm
love.
not a pro at this.
I love love.
But if you are
That's all I
wondering whether he's real and you're listening to this, I don't think it's an accident. Just in your prayer, just tonight, before you go to bed, just go, Jesus, if you're real, show yourself to me.
Thank you, thank you, thank
And
you.
what he does from there, I'll
Everyone
let him
wave to the
take care of it.
All right,
We're
you guys.
out till next
we're
week.
Out.
Don't you get us out
Thank
of here?
you for watching the 401 show. We will be back next Thursday. We love you all. If you have any questions, comments, just inbox
Look
us.
at you, sinner.
Yeah, we
Going
love
to
you.
hell. All right, see
we'll
you guys
see you next week.
week.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening. Y'all rock.
No, that's fine.